Hello, my name is Miranda Hernandez and this is my final exam for my speech class. I have my questions in here, and the first one is, what is plagiarism and why it is unethical from a speaker's perspective? So first, plagiarism is when you take from a person's words, their words, work, or ideas, and I think it is unethical because it's dishonest and can damage the speaker's credibility. And I think we should always acknowledge the sources we use and give credit to the original authors. Second question, how do I credit sources within my speech? I can credit sources by mentioning the authors, organization, or publication. And I think crediting sources helps the audience know where you got the information from and makes the speaker more trustworthy. And you can credit a source by mentioning the author, like saying, oh, RM from BTS said this, and that. Question 3, what is the functional main points of a speech? So technically, main points help the speech to be organized and helps the audience to understand the speaker's message. Also, they support the thesis statement and helps to divide it into a clear section. As I said, main points make the speech easy to follow and remember. Question 4, what is the difference between an extemporaneous and a impromptu speech? So technically, an extemporaneous is a speech where you prepare in advance and you deliver it using notes or an outline. And in the other hand, an impromptu speech is when it's a speech that you have no preparation or just a little. So the difference between them is that in the extemporaneous speech, you can sound more natural or more confident because you are prepared. And then in the impromptu speech, you're not gonna sound like that. You're gonna sound a little confused and a little how can you say it? Confused, low confidence, and a little slow, I think. Question 5, what is the difference between an informative speech and a persuasive speech? So an informative speech is when you want to educate the audience with a topic, and the persuasive speech is when you want to convince the audience with a topic. And technically, the informative can be my informative speech, that I talk about public speaking anxiety, that I talk what causes public speaking, the symptoms, the consequences, and how to manage the public speaking anxiety. A persuasive speech, you can talk about it is illegal what ICE is doing, and you're gonna try to convince the audience that it's illegal. Question 6, what is the narrative pattern of arrangement? So the narrative pattern is when you organize a speech as a story and how the events usually happen in a chronological way from beginning to end. And this pattern helps the audience to follow the sequence of the events and stay interested in the story you're telling them. Question 7, what is an individual culture? So an individual culture is when you emphasize personal achievements, independence, and individual goals. People are encouraged to make their own decisions, like choosing their own career, choosing their own university or college. Yeah. Question 8, what is the difference between hearing and listening? Well, Hearing is when you physically process or receive sound, or like when you're just receiving sound. And listening is when you're actually paying attention to the information and you're understanding the information and also interpreting the message. A person can hear sound without actually listening to what is being said. It's like when you're hearing music, you're just hearing the music. In the other way, when you're when you're listening a podcast, you're actually interpreting the message the speaker is sending you. Question 9. What is the difference between hostile, neutral, and engaging audience? So, a hostile audience is when they disagree with the speaker or the topic they're discussing, and they can be a little resistant to the message you want to send. Neutral audience is when they really don't have a strong opinion, so technically we don't have to worry about them. And then an engaging audience is when they are really interested in the speech and they are really paying attention and willing to participate in the speech. Question 10. What is the advantage of working and presenting in groups? So I think working on groups allows to share ideas and responsibilities, and it could also help by learning about from another person's presentations, and also you can gain skills from working in group, like communication skills, leadership skills, and networking skills sometimes. And yeah, those were my 10 questions. Thanks for listening.